Yeah, thanks. Well, after the second visit, he liked it enough that he would like to make an offer. He's a solid buyer. He has no contingencies other than the mortgage approval contingency. Yeah, he's offering $250,000. Okay, I wait for your call. Thanks. Take care, and I'll talk to you later. Bye bye. Yeah, Henry. Yeah. Well, my client looked at your client's offer and they're okay with the closing date and the other terms of the offer, but they did not accept the price that your client is offering. They're countering $340,000. See if that would be acceptable to your buyers, and then we'll go from there. Okay? Okay, all right. Well, talk to you later. Take care. Bye-bye. Wasn't that odd? Me calling myself to negotiate a house purchase or sale? Hi, my name is Henry, and in this video, I will be explaining an industry practice that many people may not be aware and that could cost thousands of dollars when you're buying or selling a house. How would you feel if you went to the courthouse and you noticed that your own attorney is sitting on the prosecutor's table? A few minutes later, after presenting his case to the judge, he walks around the room to your side and then proceeds to defend you. Wouldn't that scenario look weird? Friends, with regard to real estate transactions in the state of Illinois, it is legal for one agent to represent both sides of the transaction. And it is practiced by most agents because it is very lucrative. Here is why. An agent that represents the buyer and the seller collects both sides of the commission. Before I go any further, let me say that this information I'm sharing with you may upset you, particularly if you have been in this type of transaction in the past and your agent failed to clearly explain it to you. And for that, I apologize. My intention is not to raise your blood pressure, but to make you aware of this practice and to give you some tools so you can protect your best interests in the future. Please also note that since I am not an attorney, none of the information in this video should be considered legal advice. Therefore, I strongly recommend that you consult with your real estate attorney for further information. Alright, having said all that, let's get started. When one agent represents both sides in a real estate transaction, this is known in the industry as dual agency. In other words, the realtor that represents the buyer is also the same agent that represents the seller. You might say, why would anyone agree to that? That sounds crazy. But let me give you a couple of scenarios where dual agency may happen, and when it does, it happens in a very subtle way. Let's say that you decide to sell your house to shorten the commute distance to your office. So you call your trusted real estate agent and you sign a listing agreement to sell your house. Sometime later, a prospect buyer calls your realtor about your house. And in the conversation, the buyer tells your agent that he doesn't have a realtor to help him with the purchase. So your agent is now facing an opportunity to become a dual agent. He's already representing you as your listing agent, but now he has an opportunity to also represent the buyer. Here's another scenario. Now let's assume that you are buying a house. So you call the realtor that your friend recommended. In the conversation with the agent, you tell him what features you would like to have in your new home. But also you share with him how much money you're planning to spend on the purchase. So based on this information, he sends you a list of homes that fits your criteria. But guess what? The realtor that you just told how much money you're willing to pay for your new home is also the listing agent for one of the homes in the list that you just received. Let me ask you this question. Would that agent be loyal to you or to the other party? Let's further assume that you happen to like the same house that the agent is listing. How would you know that he is not going behind your back, telling the other client, in this case, the seller, how much money you're willing to pay for the house? Or if you happen to be the seller, how can you be sure that your listing agent is not telling the buyer the lowest price you're willing to sell the house for? As you can see, there are many subtle ways to fall into this situation. So you might be asking, is there anything that I can do to prevent dual agency from happening? And the answer is yes, there is. In the state of Illinois, for dual agency to happen, both parties, meaning the buyer and the seller, must agree in writing. In other words, a realtor cannot arbitrarily become a dual agent unless you and the other party agree to it. So if one of the parties refuses to sign the agreement, the realtor cannot become a dual agent. Remember that the agent is making double the commission he or she would normally make in a sale. So the temptation is there to go behind your back and reveal confidential information just to ensure that the sale happens. Well, this looks like a simple and straightforward thing to do, right? Don't sign the agreement. So why would anyone sign such an agreement if both sides can potentially lose something in the transaction? Well, the truth of the matter is that many people do sign the agreement. And you might say, why? Well, sometimes it's because agents do a poor job explaining the concept of dual agency to the clients. Other times, is because of subtle situations that arise between the agent and the client. Friends, every realtor is required to explain the possibility of dual agency to the client so you, as his client, can decide what's best for your own situation. What I'm doing in this video is exactly that, explaining to you what is involved with this practice and what are the risks. In part 2 of this video series, I will be explaining how you could find yourself facing a dual agency possibility. In other words, those subtle situations I mentioned earlier. And also, I will list some questions for you to consider before you sign a dual agency agreement. For now, take care and best wishes.